You have a face. That's one way to start the show. And hello, everybody. My name is Sudo. Welcome to MMOBuff.TV. It is September 11th, and we are doing a whole bunch of crazy things today, including giving out a whole bunch of information. And yeah, I am joined today by Chris.
Hello.
Chris,
How you doing?
Chris and his epic beard of awesomeness, who sadly is going to be departing from us for a little while. We'll have him back. We can't let him go forever.
Well, I said it's hopefully a temporary situation, but as I said, I have some real life to contend with, and you know what real life's like. It takes over from the fun, unfortunately.
Well, I guess that's something to keep in mind as an indie dev. Not everybody can be like Patrick here, who's just had their game successfully sponsored on Kickstarter and funded.
The life is still hard. It's like
Well,
if you're not prepared to live of bare minimum, then you better keep your job.
yeah, that's my problem. Is I have things that I've promised people, such as my wife, etc., and I have to continue earning money in order to satisfy both of our needs. So, yeah, it's just the way it is. Unfortunately, I said I will be still around for evenings and things like that, but when it comes to the Datamine, I won't be.
Yes, but don't think we're going to let him go, because, the way the data mine kind of works here is once we get our claws in you, we kind of don't let you go. So you never know. You might see Patrick a lot more now, because that seems to be how we transition hosts here. However, I want to give a massive hello to Guernicus, a huge hello to Mythalore. How you doing, my dear? And I have some news before we dig into today's content. To start out with, I've got some news about our game jam. For those of you who are aware, we have been talking about doing a game jam here at MMOBuff.TV with the data mine since the first show. And we are actually going to be doing that, and I am now going to give you the dates. Are you ready? You guys got your pens and papers? Your electronic organizers, whatever you want to call them? You ready for this? Okay. So, we will be having a 48-hour game jam for charity streamed live through Twitch on the weekend of December 12th through 14th. 12th is when everyone will get the topic. The 14th is when everything needs to be submitted. Ka-ching.
Easy.
So,
MMO buff game ham. That's what my phone's decided to call a game jam. Game ham.
Interesting.
Game ham.
To be fair, I prefer hams to jams.
Really?
Give me some meat. Yeah, I like meat.
And there's part of our quick bite for the show. Right.
I like meat.
I like meat. But yes, so
That's all three of us who said it now. All right.
Okay, all together now. I
like meat. Oh, terrible.
Oh, it's horrible. Synchronization.
We definitely shouldn't be doing a cappella.
No, probably not a good idea.
Oh.
But yes,
Don't.
so here is some information that you need to be aware of. The way it's working is this. Throughout September, I am telling every single person who wishes to be a part of this game jam, start practicing. If you want to be a developer, pull down an engine, start learning how to code in it. Start learning how to manipulate objects in it. Because we're not going to let people participate who don't put the time in, because it's unfair to everybody involved, including the devs who will be hosting the teams as team captains. Now, this does not mean you have to be a developer. We are looking for artists. We're also looking for musicians. So if you want to get your name into a game that will be put up for purchase for charity, this is something you're going to want to start practicing now. On top of that, October moves us into the getting involved. This is when I'm going to start opening the floodgates and saying, you want to get involved? Contact us. So you'll have to wait till October to figure out the best way to get in touch and the things we'll be looking for. November, I am actually going to say who's on whose team. Who's on first, what's on second, I don't know, who's on third, that kind of a thing, which will allow you guys to kind of suss out where your strengths are so that you guys can have an idea of what would work well for you. And maybe someone can make a suggestion to help someone grow stronger as a developer if you just share knowledge. I mean, that's kind of the entire point behind the Datamine, sharing knowledge and jokes and apparently trolling each other as well. Oh, and epic beards. Beards are a very big part of the game jam. Or I should say the Datamine. Hey, even Patrick has a bit of a beard, okay? I'm going to have to get a beard.
I'm sorry. As a bearded man, I have to say it's not quite a beard. It's more of a it's more of a soul. What they call soul patches.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically there to draw attention away from my giant bald head. So there's that.
Well, there you go. But yes, in November, it's all about sharing the information. In December, on the Friday, the 12th, I will pull together all of the team captains. We'll introduce each team so everyone gets a little bit of spotlight. We hope everybody who is developing will be streaming. I will then give the topic. So the topic could be, for all I know, something along the lines of serial killers. That's been a past thing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out our YouTube quick bite for the show. But it could be something even more complicated, such as create a game about a topic you hate. Or maybe create a game about something that you don't believe in. Or it could get even crazier, and I could say do something about sparkly ponies. Don't know.
It's a bit specific, that, isn't it? They have to be sparkly.
They may have to do some kind of extra sparkle. I'll expect brilliant lighting. No, I'm just joking. We'll get there. There will be a very.
You know what a game jam is, don't you? You know what's going to come out at the end of a game jam. Yeah, good.
Yes.
For all I know, you could have some sort of surgeon simulator on vivisected pony, and that's just a gore of blood and sparklings.
See, that would be cool to me, but that's not what we're going to stick with. But anyway, so keep in mind, if you are interested in getting involved in the game jam, now is the time to start practicing. It's the only warning I'm going to give you. So that's one of the massive big news things that we have here going at the Datamine. I will tell you we are going to be working charity-wise with an organization called Healing Over Time. They've sponsored some Child's Play charities in the past. We are working to figure out which charities we want to support this time, and they're bringing a team themselves. So they're going to be repping. So it's not like they're just going to sit back and watch everyone bring the money to the charity. They're going to be sacrificing their weekend for everybody else. So I'm also still hunting down Twitch. I'll tell you what, when we go to EGX Res and I'm sitting there talking to them, I'd be like, so where's your game dev team? You guys are stepping up to the game jam, right? Right? Because I'd love to put Twitch versus charity versus developers versus our viewers and see what we come up with. Because I'm a bit psychotic like that. So, yeah. Okay. Any thoughts on that, guys, before I continue?
You should probably talk to Amazon as well.
Let's go this way. Patrick, hit me up. Any thoughts on this jam?
You should probably talk to Amazon as well, because Amazon's buying up the Twitch, and you could pitch Twitch team versus Amazon team as to as the final showdown before the corporate overtake.
The final countdown. Great. Loving it. Maybe. We'll see. And Chris?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm just waiting for the goods to be delivered to... You've given me a date now, so, that's... I'm ready.
Excellent. And Patrick, you will be participating, right?
I won't, because, we have this really awkward period, which is just after Kickstarter, when all of the backers are still very invested. So we need to put as much progress as possible. So we're also working weekends. So backers don't lose a faith on us, because but we can probably talk about it later, because there's whole psychology thing to running the Kickstarter, but also post Kickstarter, and everything is important.
Ah, yes. And you're pretty much doing what I would consider a brilliant segue into today's, I don't know what, is it daytime? Is it nighttime?
I think it's day. I think we can say it's roughly daytime.
It's an evil day star to me. I really don't know. But it's nighttime somewhere, absolutely. On the dark side of the moon. But yes, so what we're going to dig into to start off with is this concept of Kickstarter. Like I said at the start, Patrick is a member of the Elysian Shadows teams, and they have successfully gotten funding through Kickstarter. Yay!
Yep.
Yay! I mean, they didn't hit every single
180.
stretch goal. Sad face.
Yeah.
But hey, you never know. Things change. And what we're going to talk about today is a little bit what it's like to reach out for community and crowdfunding, because it's a bit tricky. I will tell you, we've had on our show before Brad McQuaid and Salim Grant. These are guys who are very well known in the AAA industry for MMO development. And one of the things that they've done recently is try to get their own MMO kickstarted. And as they said on our show, when we interviewed them, there's no such thing as time during the event. Not a couple weeks before, not during the Kickstarter event itself, and sure as heck not afterwards. So we're going to talk, like Patrick says, a little bit about the psychology of kickstarting, maybe why you would want to make that choice, and we'll also get into the finer points of things that go with it. Now, the best part about this is the fact that I have not done a crowdsource thing for anything. I haven't even done it for MMOBuff. I also know that Chris has not really done very many crowdsource things, so we're basically going to be grilling Patrick.
I've done a lot of research.
Oh, yes, this is great.
I've done a
Go ahead.
It doesn't prepare you in the slightest.
Research does
Like,
not prepare you?
We've done a lot of research as well, and one of the biggest problems is how the attitude towards Kickstarter changed especially over past year, but more or less like over past 2 years. And it's like, you will not be prepared. We've worked, like, our Kickstarter started one month before the Kickstarter even started. Like, we already started talking about it, announcing, like, if you maybe remember last time I was on MMOBuff, we already had set date and we were talking, we're gonna start a Kickstarter then, and we were making like lots of fuss around, talking, like announcing it everywhere, and then when it started, we'll continue doing that. But still, one of the points of comparisons that we had was the other Dreamcast projects, right? Which were at like smallest goals, but they reached higher. Like there were like, I think Falco would probably know better. There were like 2 or 3, yeah, definitely 2 projects. One of them reached like 230,000, and another was like over 200 as well. We barely reached 185.
You know,
still more than a lot of Kickstarters.
It is, and it goes to show you that there is something to be said for how expensive game development really is, especially if you have a team.
Yeah.
£200,000 is not going to cut. If you want to develop a AAA game, for example, £200,000 is going to be it's not even going to scratch the surface of employing people, let alone all the additional assets and resources you might have to purchase and buy, depending on how you do it.
Let's first talk about the most fun stuff: the taxes and the fees. Kickstarter is taking 5%. Amazon payments, which Kickstarter is using, takes 2 to 5% as well. So just like 10% already of your Kickstarter is lost. And then income tax, because the Kickstarter money is income, in case some people didn't know. And especially in America, you have federal level tax, and then you have your own state tax. So I don't think I can get like precise numbers, but I can easily say that more than you think from the Elysian Shadows Kickstarter just went to taxes, to corporate.
Absolutely. And this is one of those things. We had a lovely woman on to talk about PR, and my brain just exploded because I can't remember her name, and I feel really bad about this because she is such
Joe?
No, not Joe. Joe's the CEO of Yuki. It's the one with the awesome earrings.
You know
the ones with the thing 1 and the thing 2 earrings. And it was just like, she was talking about what it's like to do the Kickstarter campaign and things like that, and how you do the pricing for tiers and how it can have an impact on stuff. And something to keep in mind is you may think it's really odd to pay 25 quid, have maybe, if you're lucky, a t-shirt, but still not get the game. I mean, you have to keep in mind what it actually costs, but we'll get into that in just a second. So let's reel it back. Let us pretend that the three of us work for a dev company all together. We're a 3-person team known as Datamine Incorporated in Industries. I don't know why I did that, because now our anagram for our name is Die. So.
Happy with that?
All right. Welcome.
Nice positive public image.
Yes, obviously.
Yep.
Very positive. So let's do what we would think. Why would we as developers even consider crowdfunding? I'm not even talking about picking Kickstarter, because there's others out there. There's things like Indiegogo. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Why would we even think about seeking
I imagine the main reason is to retain control and intellectual property rather than having to give away a certain amount of that to an investor. That is my main reason for ever wanting to go for a Kickstarter over traditional funding.
See,
I can give you even simpler reason
Go ahead.
to actually make it. Because working if you have a relatively small project that you could finish within 12 to 16 months, you could kickstart it and then just work full time on it and then just have it done. But instead of and make it done within a year, instead of waiting 3 years as working part time.
See,
that's another reason. If you have really want to make a game there.
But you can do that with normal investment still.
No, you cannot. If you first you need to convince investors to do that, which is not an easy feat because game dev doesn't have high return rate. Then the problem start is that investors will demand something from you, they will try to get into the game development. Not even that, they will try to get into the game development process itself.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is that they usually really bad at it, and then they wonder why the projects failed. Well, obviously failed if you have people that have no idea about the game dev getting into the game dev. So then they're looking at the past experiences of other investors, how the game dev went. They see that the projects flopped, they lose lots of money, and they don't think about the causes. They just think about that it flopped and it's a bad investment, and they prefer to invest in stock or something else. So first, convincing investors is really hard. You can get.
Oh, hold on one second. I'm
yes.
gonna bounce in real quick here. We have the concept of keeping control and retaining control of your property, which is something that you're digging into here, because the moment someone else who, whether they have knowledge of game development or not, starts putting their fingers into your pie, it's going to do really nasty things. You could lose control of it. Scope could go completely crazy. You could lose so much. I want to throw out another option and reason. And another option and reason that at least comes out to my mind is the fact that there are ways to get help without giving up pure IP, and there are ways to get help to start spreading at least knowledge of a game existing. So it's also, I think, partially a marketing ploy. Now, when we had that lovely woman with Thing 1 and Thing 2 earrings on, and I'm just going to have to go look up her name as we move into one of you guys talking in a second. But one of the things that she pointed out was when you go to do Kickstarter, it's a massive part of, or really any kind of crowdsource, it's massive amount of advertising, but you have to have a community to back it. So if you're starting to prep a month ahead of time, that is too late. You really need to get even more involved. You need to spread the word. You need to do whatever it takes. But there's another option. I mean, we've had a couple of people on from third-party publishing and developing companies, Team 17. We've had Digital Tribe Games on. And one of the things that they talk about is we're willing to work with the independent developer. We're willing to do anything to help them. And in some cases, if that means us potentially maybe working with you for a loan for 6 months so you can nail this out, get it done, and get it out there. Yeah, it's kind of like taking a small loan. Maybe, I don't know what their terms are. But there are others out there who only do a little things for you, like, say, marketing or the PR side of things, so you can just focus on development. So there's not always a reason, in my opinion, at least for holding on to your IP, to go to crowdfunding. I think that's an option. I think it's a reason, but I don't think it's strong enough to be like the core reason. So I'm challenging your response there, Chris.
You're definitely 100% right with the marketing thing, because that is one of the things that interests me about Kickstarter. And you're paying your 5% or 7% or whatever comes out in total for that marketing, for that attention, because people are going on that website. People are. If you say you've got a Kickstarter, it's better than saying come to our website and donate. People are going to use Kickstarter because it's a
Yes.
Not anymore. Have you guys heard about this new MMO that's coming out called Traverse?
No. I'm not
They're
saying that
doing
it isn't possible.
crowdfunding that is not involved with Kickstarter, which I thought was rather interesting. But
Well, I would, as someone who writes websites and is capable of putting together a decent application that can take payments from people and things like that, I would explore that avenue as well as Kickstarter probably, or maybe I don't know, maybe I'd use Kickstarter as a front and then forward it to me. I don't know how I'd do it off the top of my head,
Funny that you mention it, because after our Kickstarter was done, we still offer the Kickstarter tiers to buy through PayPal through our website. So
Yeah,
if someone
as you would.
couldn't back us, because Kickstarter has limited ways to back the project, which we can also talk about how exactly Kickstarter handles money, which is I found it really mind-blowingly simple yet interesting. But a lot of people were saying, well, I don't have credit card, I don't have Amazon payments, I don't live in America. I still want to back you guys, but I can't. Kickstarter does not give me a way to back you. And we said, obviously during the Kickstarter we couldn't say it outright, yeah guys, you totally go on our website, because probably Kickstarter wouldn't mind, but still that's a money that we're using Kickstarter to promote ourselves and then diverting money away from Kickstarter. You cannot actually, you cannot put PayPal buttons in your updates on Kickstarter anymore.
Oh no, of course not. I totally did not mean that. I meant exactly what you just said. I meant use Kickstarter as a base to start, and then get the attention from Kickstarter, get all of the Kickstarter that you want, the money you want from Kickstarter or whatever limit you set.
All the money, all the money.
Yeah, I'm talking in literal, not literal terms. I'm just saying.
Josie, are you still looking for the name, or you got the name?
Sorry?
No, I got totally engrossed in what you were saying. I didn't start.
Go look for the name. I and Chris gonna talk.
I have been properly chastised. Go ahead.
I said use it for the publicity, because that's where a lot of the games journalists and media look to find new games that are coming out, new games that might be interesting, that they are like, oh, that's cool, let's promote that, without any kind of, the same goes for Steam Greenlight. All of these things are helping indie developers and AAA developers. AAA is different again, but it's, they're helping us developers try and get our product out there. What you need to do as a developer is put more effort than probably any new developer is aware of to get seen from the crowd, because there are so many games out there. There are 10, 20 games getting released, indie games on Steam every day. It's ridiculous at the moment. So being seen from the crowd is an important thing, and Kickstarter helps that.
First difference between how it used to be before and how it is now. Before, if you would pop on a Kickstarter with interesting idea, and you could show that you can do it, it doesn't matter how much money you got. You would get featured on every single media outlet if you have interesting story. Now, they just ignore you. If you're gonna hit your goal, then they may be gonna report on you, which is funny because, I think the day we hit our goal, Kotaku wrote about us. We were on the front page of Kotaku, which was was a huge boom, by the way. It was a lot of money and a lot of traffic. But it was only after we got founded.
If you are naive enough to think, I'm not saying anyone in particular, I'm saying if you're naive enough as a person to believe that you can get something for nothing, and I'm talking about getting publicity for your game, then you're going to fail, basically, because you're not going to put the amount of effort in that you need to. I don't care who you are, I don't care what products you've got. Even games like No Man's Sky that's getting loads and loads of publicity, they will have put a lot of effort into, one, putting the game together in the first place in order for it to look good enough for people to be interested in it, two, promoting it via other channels, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, possibly. I don't know how they've done it, but they will have got recognition from somewhere, or they will know someone in the industry who has taken the game and ran with it. Sorry, in the games journalist industry, I mean, specifically. I'm not saying that happened. I'm just saying that is also another avenue that people can use. But generally, you have to put the effort in order to get anywhere. And even if you say that Kickstarter now is extremely difficult to get funding on, then I think that's correct. You should still have to struggle to get it as a developer. You should. everyone thinks that their idea is the best idea in the world, and unless you can prove that, for one, by giving people a demo that's playable and looks decent and plays decent, and two, can actually put the effort into the marketing and promotion side, I think you're digging your own grave, really.
Okay, there's a couple things I want to hit on there because both of you have some really good points here. To start off with, I want to take what Mythalore has said here and bring it into chat. He stated, Kickstarter's trusted. I would be wary of backing anything not on Kickstarter, but that just might be me. This is true. There is a certain thing with, say, going with Indiegogo or going with Humble Bundle or going with anything, regardless of what you go with, you definitely want to make certain that there is a level of trust involved. If there is no level of trust, you've, again, shot yourself in the foot. So, bang on with that one. Another thing that you're pointing out here is, the amount of effort that needs to actually be put in. By the way, the lovely lady's name is Natalie Griffiths. I absolutely must get her back on and see if I can actually get her to, bring more awesome earrings, and we can talk some more about PR and even come back into Kickstarter, because it is honestly a massive topic. And with our limited time, I'm going to try to keep us driving towards further and further as to where we're going. So, picking to go crowdsourcing, not an easy task. Anyone who does it, who has had something fail, or anyone who has done it, who has had it succeed, will tell you both are difficult. So, we here at Datamine Industries Incorporated, DIE, our new game company, have decided to go with crowdsourcing. And we're like, well, Kickstarter is trusted, as specifically said by Mythalore here. Now what? How much time do we need to plan? What do we do? Is this where we,
Okay.
The first thing I would imagine is looking into the different types, not just saying, let's go with Kickstarter. There are loads. There are not just Kickstarter out there. There's, as you said, Indiegogo. There's something with a 7 in the name. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head now, but there's another few that I've come across. So making a decision based on finances and how much places charge might be, you need to drive the traffic to the crowdfunding site. It doesn't matter where it is, I don't think, because all of them have got some kind of stigma attached to them and some kind of history and whether or not you trust them or not. I don't think it matters where you are. I think it's more about what's right for you as a business.
Chris, you're slightly jumping the gun. That's for later. First, we use around 1 year. Hopefully, you have more than 1 year to build a community already.
Look at his comment in the chat. Adverto says no.
Okay.
The first thing you want to do.
I thought when you're talking about when you've made the decision you want to go for a Kickstarter. I mean, yeah, I spent the last year writing a game, and I've got probably another year to go. I don't know how long, I'll be honest, until I've got a demo, a single level demo to a point.
We're at least assuming that there's a prototype in action, potentially a demo for people to play, lots of screenshots, beautiful music, fantastic pictures of the entire team going, and things like that.
I think you'd be very, very silly to go for a Kickstarter without that. I think it should be assumed these days. You should be assumed.
You can, but you will not get funded unless you're Team Schaffner, which Double Fine Adventure had nothing to show off.
But even there, they've got a team of people behind them. I know it's a smallish team, but they've still got a team of people behind them that can support him in terms of he's the ideas man. He's got a team of artists that do all of the artists. He's probably got a team that deal with a Kickstarter. He'll have people to help him. He's not going to be doing it on his own. We're talking specifically about indie. Well, I'm talking specifically about indie developers that don't have experience.
It's more about the trust. He's a famous name. He's proven. He knows what he's doing. So people will invest even if he's gonna say, we're literally gonna make an adventure game. What kind of? We won't gonna tell you. And people gonna back it, and you're gonna have 3 millions, and then your budgets go. But anyway, we're getting sidetracked. First, you want to build a community. First, you want to have a fan base. It used to be like that you could just go on Kickstarter with a game that's sort of ready, and people would back you just on the sole reason they see you, they like your idea, they're gonna back you. Now it's not the case anymore. You really need those initial community that's gonna back you. Our first day of the Kickstarter, when we hit go, we were doing around a 3 or 4 hours live stream with the people, so a launch party, and that brought us around 37,000 in the very first day. It was the huge spike, and then those people, your fans, your community, they're gonna be the first people to spread the word, because even if they cannot back you, they're gonna share it on Facebook, they're gonna talk to other people. If you're just a game dev that you can be the best game dev in the world, if you're not famous, you're gonna have a hard time. So we were like at Elysian Shadows team, we were lucky enough to have our YouTube series running, and we have our fan base from that, and we have our forums and our Facebook, 10,000s of likes, and I don't know how many, we had quite a lot. So we had already people to back us, and that was this huge boom.
This is some interesting things. Going back to something that's ZVMBI. I'm not even going to try to put that into a word because I'd totally screw it up. However, they state that people are maturing when funding stuff. I would say the consumers are learning to distinguish between good projects and bad projects. People follow you before making a decision because they feel you can actually accomplish something, which goes to your comment about building that community. And there's a variety of ways to build that community. Yes, we are making the assumption here, guys, that you already have a prototype for your game. And to answer your question, by the way, Adverto, where did you get the money to build that game? Sometimes you eat ramen or pot noodle, and you just accept that. Other times you get a job and do it when you're not supposed to be sleeping.
You do it part-time. If you're young, you live with your parents or you share a flat or whatever, you try to save money, and you just work your day job, and then after hours you build the prototype. And then you also build the community at the same time. As you build the prototype, you build the community, and then you go to Kickstarter.
And that's, again, what I'm doing at the moment, spending all of my time speaking to people on Twitter, uploading YouTube videos, obviously then managing the team as well that I've got, and
coming on the show.
And then on top of that, I'm coming on the show and doing. I've also got another show as well that I do, and then on top of that, I've got a social life, not much of one at the moment, given, but it's still there, and a real job. The real job's going to start soon. When that starts, I don't know how that's going to affect the game dev, because I tend to do most of my game dev during the day at the moment. At night, and again, I'm not sure if that's going to be this. So we'll have to see. This is why I've always been very open about my situation with everybody, and team members and the fans and the public, etc. You have to be open and honest, otherwise you'd lose that trust.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm going to drag some more questions or comments that have been made in the chat in, because you guys are awesome and very intelligent. We have a Hammerhead96 here who says, personally, as a consumer, you definitely need a lot of content to almost convince people to donate. With experience, I have backed things like War Z. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that failure of a game from a Hammerhead or Hammerpoint Interactive. This is something that's kind of crazy. And Seabreeze and adds, what about Trillion Words is doing, taking 150,000 for people to test their free-to-play game? That's a whole different topic for the Datamine. In fact, it's probably a different topic for one of our other shows here at.
But it is also, as a developer, it's also another benefit as well of doing a Kickstarter, because then if you decide to do that's a pre-release thing they're talking about there. That's not quite what Kickstarter is. Kickstarter's about getting money for a product.
Crowdsourcing.
It may be a pre-alpha product. If you wanted to do that.
Yep. Now, I'm going to ask a question to you, Patrick, considering the fact that Elysian Shadows has been successfully funded through Kickstarter, and I know how much you guys have been doing. I mean, I've been following the little blogs you guys do. I've even seen that you started your own graphic design series, which was a shock, and everything that kind of goes with it. But when it comes...
accident.
It was an accident. Yes, serendipity, it all worked like that. When you guys decided, all right, we're doing Kickstarter, how much work did you guys do before?
First thing first, we knew from over a year, I think we had 16 months, 1.5 years, that we knew that we're gonna go on Kickstarter someday. So we already were in the mindset that we will be on the Kickstarter. So whole our development process was geared sort of towards Kickstarter. So things had to look nicely. So we prioritized dynamic lighting engine. We prioritized all that looks, and we sort of put down all of it that doesn't look like, more intelligent AI and stuff like that. Because, there is no way for player to judge how good the AI is from the video. There is not, because player is not interacting with it. So, and it's not as flashy, like it's not a flashy selling point for a Kickstarter. Images, video, flash effect, that's what's selling. So that's what we're focusing. We're focusing on developing finished environments, so we can have a nice video panning of the environment. Not so the creatures, because you can get like free, and we didn't even use all the NPCs that I did for in the Kickstarter video. That's a fun thing. Like we have actually more monsters that we shown, because you can, like, to show the combat, you can just use the same monster anyway, and it shows the combat quite well. You don't have to make all kinds of different like interesting animations, stuff like that. So you really need to know about like what's selling the Kickstarters and how to approach it and how to change your development priorities. And then the hardcore preparation for the Kickstarter started around 2 months before. 2 months before we even we already knew the date that we want to start somehow at the end of the summer. We already started working towards it. We started like finishing the levels. Then 1 month before, we finally decided on the exact date. We announced the date, and then we started like heavily doing all kinds of interviews, all kinds of, especially for Dreamcast, or like just smaller media outlets, because those were the ones willing to talk to us. The big guys will not talk to you unless you're funded, especially like if you're not even have a Kickstarter ready. So we started talking. We were like on tons of live streams. At some point, I think Falco was like literally 1 podcast a day for like 3 weeks. Every day a podcast. Every day, sometimes even 2 podcasts.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes in the interviews and emails. Like it was constant jumping all kinds of different media outlets, because like every 10 people counts.
That's the thing. If you want to be successful in any stretch of the imagination, and I'm not saying I'm successful at all yet, I would like to think that I'll get there. But
time.
even with the community, I mean, how long has MMOBuff been going? Over nearly a year.
We are celebrating our 1-year anniversary, which is why we're announcing our game jam.
So you've got around about 1,000 followers on Twitter. You've got quite a lot of people who watch the show. We've got 300, 400 people watching continuously, and then what is it? What's the numbers for the average Datamine view?
That just gets like crazy. Sometimes around 16,000.
Okay, so and then the other shows,
and the other
shows you don't get as much as that, do you?
No, we don't. But there's a reason for it, and that's, I think, one of the key things to keep in mind. You know that in today's day and age, especially with things like Kickstarter, and this is a question for you, Patrick, do they do localization? Do they have it so that there's a priority if they recognize from your IP that you, or geolocations and how they do those things, that they recognize that, say, you're from Poland, which you are, so therefore they try to prioritize Polish developers to you, or are they global?
You can set, like, you have to set from where you are. So we are Kickstarter from Alabama, for example, because that's where the Elysian Shadows studios are. But I don't think that Kickstarter, it's like you can sort by location, but I'm viciously against targeting me anything Polish-wise, because I find Polish language in like sort of international setting, like for example a Kickstarter webpage or Amazon or Facebook, I found it really obnoxious. Partially because it's just weird, partially because I'm also speaking with English-speaking people anyway. So seeing like posts in English and then Polish UI, which is always, like, not always, but often really badly translated, just so jarring. So I tend to avoid localization at all costs.
Okay, but fair enough. But that's part of why there's.
But you can definitely search by locations, and you can find your local Kickstarter.
What I was trying to say is that you have to build up this following over a long period of time, unless you're very lucky, unless you've got something very special. And
it's not even very special. You can have something incredibly special, but if you don't have the right person at the right time seeing it,
even nowadays, people will just, like, even if you have something special, people will not trust you. Like, your community, on top of like giving you momentum, they also validate you, because people see, like, X amount of you already pledged. People see your following, and they think like, okay, if 10,000 people are following them, then they're legit. So they're like more inclined to support you.
Well, that's the thing. Then you've got to worry about all this thing, things like fake followers and bots and all the stuff that comes with people wanting all these followers for that stigma to be attached to them. But yeah, I mean, I've done it legitimately. I've tried, to engage with people throughout the year. It takes a long time to do that, and I don't have all day to do that. So if I had someone like a community manager to do that, that would make my life a bit easier. I'd be able to get more work done. But it still takes a while to get there. Yeah. Well,
it's actually really interesting. It's actually really interesting because one of our web designer sort of became more of a permanent team member because he also started doing sort of community and PR management for us, and he also did some level design. But the thing is that people want to talk to Falco. People want to talk to lead engineer. People want to interact with the team. People don't want to talk to PR person. People want to talk to someone who's actually making the game. So we had a couple of people contact that they had questions about art and how we handle art style. They contacted me directly. I had people adding me on Facebook and asking questions, which is really nice. I have friends now.
You get friends. This is how you get friends as an independent developer.
It is a very strange feeling to come from, having people just having your friends on your Facebook list to having 1,000, 1,100 followers or whatever that have a lot of them engage with you and are interested in your products. It's very strange and humbling. I'll be honest with you. It's
humbling is the
sometimes
perfect
don't know how
word.
to take it.
It's the perfect word I'd apply to it. I'm going to pipe in here and just say Maltese gamer Twitcher hearts. See, we are live. I just wanted to wait to throw that in there. So now we've discussed a bit of why you would want to do crowdsourcing. We've also touched a little bit on what it really takes to prep for crowdsourcing. And it doesn't end there. What I love about what you guys did, and this is why I think you guys nailed it, not just beyond the fact that Elysian Shadows really looks good. For those of you who haven't seen it, you really need to go check it out. But one of the reasons why I think you guys were definitely so successful is you had that planning in place. You knew what order to build and what orders to actually take care of and all the different milestones you needed to lead up to going Kickstarter. That, to me, is exceptional because, like you said, you guys knew about this a year and a half ago. You didn't just wake up one morning, grab your cup of tea and go, I do believe today we should go to Kickstarter. It doesn't work like that.
Our Kickstarter page was ready around 2 weeks in advance because you can start a Kickstarter and you also need to wait a week for validation or something like that. So you cannot just start like that. You actually have to start with the page, wait around a week. So we already had everything done 2 weeks in advance, and then we're just making tweaking, and we're tweaking it all towards the last minute. Changing assets. I had to make completely new banner in 2 minutes. I was frankly trying to find a PSD because this week leading to the month leading to Kickstarter, I almost plunged into alcoholism. I was just buying whiskey and I cannot do this sober. Sanity was slipping, and trying to find PSD, which I lost the file. I had to recreate stuff. It was crazy on the last minute. So even though we had so much preparation, we still had troubles, and you will have those hiccups. But the sooner you prepare, the more time you have to solve those hiccups.
I started the way that I'm approaching it now is we're well off of Kickstarter still, and we will be for quite some time. While I'm developing the game, I'm also keeping a list of all of the things that I need to do for Kickstarter. I'm starting to budget things. I've started to figure out how much money we'll need for certain bits and bobs. I've started to speak to people like voice actors and artists, and not in a great amount of detail, but I have started to engage these people in order to ascertain how much money we would need to get the game finished. I mean, I still don't know. That's the problem. It's very hard to budget it because, one, my lack of experience in game development, and two, the sheer number of things that keep popping up on a daily basis that are completely brand new to me that I've never heard of before, and I didn't realize that was a workflow we had to involve, or I didn't realize it was as complicated or complex as it is, For example, animation. I knew that we have to put animation in there. I didn't know how animation worked. I've never done it before. I'm a developer, I'm a an enterprise developer rather. I program
Hey,
websites.
you're a game
and
developer as well. You've seen it.
I
There's
am now.
proof, even as much as you might like to try to humble yourself down. There's proof that you're a game dev. So
I'm trying, but as I said, I worry. I'm at the point now where I'm worrying about the quality of it, and I actually had a conversation with Patrick today about the UI stuff that I'm doing at the moment. I've started to look at Unity's new UI system, and it's really
UX
cool.
is where I'm going to attack any game. It's one of the things I have massive problems with. If the
no, I'm with you.
UX is not correct, I'm
That's
about to
something
say
that I
my
also
fangs come
emphasize.
out, but I'm not a vampire.
No, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you, and that's why I'm concerned about it, because I know what I need to get across to the player. How to do that is a skill in itself, and I have to learn all of that as I'm going along.
Yeah,
As an indie dev, you don't have the support from a UI or a UX designer, and I could hire one, but again, I haven't got the money for that. This is where Kickstarter comes in.
Plus, you
Or
need
you
to
could
know
come
the
to the
game
Datamine.
ins and out. Yeah. I mean, you need to know the game in and out to build correct user experience. So, even if you would hire someone, you would have to have this person spend immense amounts of time of getting into your game, and then what if you're gonna add they need to understand the game as well as you are. So
I would
that's one of the
argue.
problems, actually.
I would argue the digital artists also need that as well. They need to get into the game
everyone does.
Nearly everyone. I mean, there's a few people that wouldn't need to get involved as much, but even someone like the community manager. A community manager would need to understand the game and know what's going on, what's coming up, and what they can and can't talk about in order for that to. You know what I mean? I'm not advocating go off and get a PR company or whatever. We've had shows about that before.
Yep.
I'm not saying you shouldn't either. It's up to you what you want to do. At the end of the day, we're here to inform you on this show and give you information in order for you to make your own decisions. I have an opinion, and it's a quite strong one in a lot of cases. So don't always take our opinions on it. Go off and do your own research. Even with Kickstarter, make sure that you've planned for it. You know what they expect. You know what the consumer expects from you. Look at other Kickstarters, see how they've done it, see how they've set the pages out, see what kind of things are done in the videos. There's plenty of information out there. You can't.
Yeah. That's also
really
something that we. Yeah, that's also something that we did. We browsed through a lot of Kickstarters. We actually compared because you can see the graphs on external website. I feel it's a Kicktrack or something like that. We were comparing the spikes of money that they were getting and their updates, and when they were updating. When are you making update? What kind of update? What do you put in there? How your video looks like? How long it is? What's the audience retention of the video? What are the other ways to make it? What people are generally talking about videos and what do they expect from them? How the tiers are structured? How your page is structured? You need to look at at all the Kickstarter projects or the general Kickstarter sort of fluff. And then you need to look in depth about the games that are similar to you and what they did. You need to compare also yourself as a developer and them as a developer. What's the differences? Did they have bigger community? Did they have friends, their friends that had big community? Because retweet from someone that has a lot of followers is worth as much as having smallish community yourself. So you need to analyze it a lot to be prepared.
Right. Now I'm going to pull in a comment because we're getting closer and closer to the time where we're actually going to stop, which means obviously we have to continue this in another episode.
And technically we still didn't start our die Kickstarter though. We're still in the prep phase, right?
We're still in the prep, which pretty much really helps to say it and explain how it works. But I want to pull a comment from Hate Breeder 2 here because I think it's well worth mentioning. We are here at the Datamine on MMOBuff. Our Thursday show is all about independent development for independent developers, and we cover a lot of topics, everything from game engines down to PR companies to creating topics, or how do you create characters, or should you have depth. I mean, last week we had psychology of game AI, which was insane,
which we hardly touched the surface of as well.
I know we've hardly scratched that surface, and we have got to get him back. But I like what this has said because it's well worth keeping it in mind, because I agree with him. He says you have to manage your capital assets like your technology, website integration, and always responding back to your members on your forums to constructive criticism and suggestions to see where you should focus more on development. Success of a product is only dependent on how you continuously interact with your community. A great example of failure in this aspect is when MMO giant developers go from subscription to free to play. It's an indication that the company weren't listening to their players and lost revenue as a part of it. You can't let your ego dominate your future success, as it may also be your downfall. Now, the last sentence is what I strongly agree with. I will, however, state going free to play is not always about the fact that they've lost money. It's actually can be a platform to make even more money than they already had. So keep that in mind. And there are several game companies we have interviewed that have expressed that same thing. There's also something to be said about the fact that just because you respond to your community doesn't mean they like you. And doesn't mean that they're going to give you constructive feedback. We have a show on Tuesdays where we've had a community manager come in and talk about, we've had 2 community managers actually now come on, 3, wow, 3 come on our Tuesday night shows here at MMOBuff, who I'll tell you point blank, there are people they will ignore in the community because of how they handle things. So sometimes the success of a game is not that, but I firmly believe, without a shadow of a doubt, a game is only as successful as their community and the developers interacting with it. Because, not everybody's a famous name. You gotta let them get to know you, and you get to know them, which I think is just a well worth thing being said. But ZVMBI, it's almost like saying XKCD. It's like put together an awesome amount of letters, and that kind of make a word, kind of don't. But anyway, who agrees with Hatebreeder 2? But at the same time, you got to stick to your concept sometimes. I mean, some devs are not just about earning money, but about delivering a personal experience. Some demands from the community may not apply to you concept. A game can't be perfect for everyone. There's always a specific audience. We will, on the Datamine, I'm chasing down a particular individual to talk about the experiences they had developing a game where the concept in game development is players always think they know what they want, but they really have no clue what they really need.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
And the problem is
we will be
too
going
many
into
of them.
that. Oh gosh, yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Everyone's got
Basically,
an opinion.
yeah. One of the teachings of game balance is to never listen to your players. Just look at the statistics. You embed a lot of tracking into the game, like the tiniest thing you track, in case you didn't know, the game is tracking every single movement of you. Most of the games are doing it right. They're tracking when you press the button, they track often if you hover over something, they track like the tiniest details, and that's what developers are using to optimize. And then obviously, the data from the actual game, what abilities are you using, what cards are you using, whatever. But they almost never will listen to player feedback, because players will be more often not wrong. There is problem with confirmation bias. There's problem with negativity bias. There is problem with the mob mentality, especially of Reddit. It's very hard to get legit. Yes.
I think I would take anything. In fact, I have taken anything that someone has said about the game, positive or negative, with a pinch of salt. Because I have people who really like the game, who've been talking my game. I mean, who've been talking about how awesome it is and how they want to tell all the friends about it. And it's like, well, brilliant, thank you, do that. But if that doesn't mean you're going to get any kind of input on the game. At this point, I know it's in development. You might get a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's my vision, and that sounds really selfish. But if I don't stick to that vision, then it will become, for want of a, I'm not going to use that word. It will become a mess. You know what word I was going to use, probably. But yeah,
yes.
if everyone gets involved, it's too many cooks spoil the broth. It's an age-old adage, and it's one of those things that I strongly believe in any circumstance. Stick to the spec, and then worry about it once it's finished and released. Worry about improving the experience or at least when it's in beta for the user.
Yes, there's a whole bunch of topics in there that we will be having future episodes on, because there are some dangerous lines you have to walk as a developer, especially when you start to bring players in, and that it takes you in a whole different ballpark. However, to throw some other things out there, when it comes to Kickstarter, when it comes to crowdsource, there is an awful lot of work that needs to be done. And if you think about it, if you are developing a game, you're already spending 40 to 80 hours a week working on the game. Plan. So that's the best piece of advice we can currently give you. So there you go. Is there any one piece of advice for planning that you would like to give developers who are looking to go the crowdsource route? Because we'll then next time get into, hey, it's opening night, and that's a whole show unto itself. However, it depends on who we have on next week. But anyway, go ahead. One piece of advice for preparation for Kick or crowdfunding.
To me, it would be. I mean, I don't have experience of Kickstarter yet, but I'm doing lots of thinking about it, and I've done lots of things in my life. Put it that way. I have a lot of experience in various different financial situations. Planning, to me, would be the budget planning. Focus on that, because that, at the end of the day, is what you're looking for from Kickstarter mainly. The whole idea is that you're going to get X amount of money. I mean, fair enough, everything else comes with it, the marketing, the PR, the exposure, all that stuff, but generally you're going to Kickstarter so you can get enough money to finish the game, or at least get it to a certain point, I believe. I mean, I'm not sure if you can do more than one Kickstarter. I don't think you can.
Yeah, you can. You can,
okay.
But the problem is how public will react.
Yeah. Well, no, if you're honest from the front, this is our plan. We've planned for, let's say, picking it out of the air, we've planned for 100k to get us to Christmas or something. Then we're going to do another Kickstarter that's focused more on something else entirely.
There are games that actually have had more than one Kickstarter. They've it's sort of like a reboot or a continuation or something, but there's also, as we discussed earlier in the show, another way to handle it as well.
But have those games all been honest from the start? Have they said that?
Your guess is as good as mine, because I couldn't even begin to tell you, considering how many things show up on Kickstarter, which is one of the downsides of crowdsourcing, is you can get lost in the heap. But, hey, I couldn't tell you. I'd like to believe that every developer out there is honest to 100%.
Mythalaw has just said something in chat, and I don't know what it's in response to specifically, but he said, well, that's what the designer's job is. As an indie developer, we don't have a designer. We don't have a game designer. We don't have a graphic designer. We're very lucky to have. I'm very lucky, rather, to have the team members that I've got. It's my responsibility to do everything in this, and Mythalaw is a developer, so he should know this,
To be frank, the budgeting is not the job of a designer, because budget is not budgeter. Is not. I mean,
I don't think it was in reference to the budget.
I don't think it was.
Ever give the designer the job of budgeting. It is the worst thing you could do. They'll find bugs in it.
One other thing that I want to do is something that not a lot of people will know, that Falco's father is actually like a construction developer, or like just the guy that's selling houses, stuff like that in America, real estate developer, something like that. So the guy has like a lot of big company and budgeting experience, and like Falco and he, they were talking in ages and ages. So probably also like without his help and his advice, we would probably also fail. So that's something we have like ready experience of the guy that's running successful company, and then that he knows how to approach clients and people, and how stuff works on the company level, because you will have taxes, you will have all kinds of different expenses that you might not even imagine if you haven't done the research. And it's really hard to make a research about it, because when you're gonna look at I don't know how like in other countries it is, but for example in Poland, the website for the let's say the office, the tax office, let's name it tax office, whatever. They deal with companies, stuff like that. I don't know the name precisely. The website says one thing. When you go to the office and to talk to the person, then they say another thing. And then when they want to throw you in the jail, they say a third thing. It's a giant mess.
That's something I'm going to have to do. We are going to have to get a lawyer on the show that deals with game development and talk a little bit about legal ramifications. There's what?
There's one lawyer on Reddit. He's like doing free legal advice and AMA weekly. on
It'll
game
be the
dev.
same guy that's on Twitter at the moment. He's going around speaking. He's called the Game Dev Lawyer or something, and he's doing a lot of
Yep.
free blogs and free seminars and stuff. I've
Well,
spoken to him.
just
I've actually emailed him directly for IP concerns, actually, and he gave me quite a lot of free advice. I was very
so,
welcoming.
Chris,
Great, right?
you're gonna
Hello.
send him the link for
I have done.
Datamine. Okay.
I've already forwarded to you.
We'll
a while back.
we'll have to hunt him down and chase him, because I'd love to get a lawyer on this show, because there are a whole bunch of things that independent developers should know. I will throw out, depending upon where you live, laws can be so drastic, and since gaming can tend to be a global market, that's a whole can of worms I'm not even going to let us open right now. But so I've gotten some advice from both of you. The advice I would give to anyone looking to do crowdsourcing is be realistic. Anytime you make and set your goals and what your goals are going to be, what you set your tiering to be, what you set your stretch goals to be, everything that you do, be realistic about it. Don't think that just because your idea is the best thing since sliced bread, or perhaps the awesome wheel that was created so people didn't have to carry things on their back, doesn't mean that you're worth millions.
And don't get sideswiped by popularity either. Be aware that you're human at the end of the day, because if, say, for example, let's say we get 100 people that come up to me all within a couple of weeks and go, your game is amazing, it's the best thing I've ever heard of. Don't go, right then, everybody on the planet wants my computer game, and I'm going to put it up on Kickstarter and it'll make loads of money. No, don't be daft. Put effort in. Make sure that you do all of these things that we're saying, and budget and
if you want to get really, 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 really scared, throw your idea on Reddit.
Yeah.
Throw your prototype on Reddit.
But don't just
walk away, leave it, have some feedback with the community, talk to them. But I mean, Danny
I disagree,
did that.
I'm afraid.
Danny
Josie.
did that. Oh, no. I'm throwing this out there as something that someone has actually done. In fact, Just a Pixel created light on it.
How it went.
People
because I would imagine that it would be just
game.
downvoted to hell and no one would talk to you.
No.
Yeah, that's the problem.
No, it depends on the plate. Okay, I mean, if you put it in /aw where the kittens are, do you really think people are going to care?
No.
It's a matter of finding the right community.
Okay, Josie, so what you did, Josie? Come on.
Right. I went onto Reddit and I posted a few things about my game, and I got absolutely I got zero response. I went on Game Dev, I went on I went on Indie Dev, I went on a few others, and every single one of them I went on, I read all the rules, and I posted within the rules, and either I couldn't post it or I posted it and no one responded. And it was like, I know exactly why that is, and this is why I've just said I disagree with you. It's not because of the Reddit thing. Go on Reddit, yes, by all means, but make sure you spend time on Reddit, involving yourself in other people's conversations, because people are not interested if you don't have a certain amount of Reddit credit or whatever you call it. I can't remember
Reddit
the name of it.
Yeah,
You know,
votes.
And again, Reddit is a time-consuming thing. It's a time-consuming tool, but you do get a lot from it as well. You can also start your own. I'm actually considering doing it at some point, starting my own subreddit for my game specifically.
Oh yes,
which
actually,
is a good thing to do.
It's actually an interesting thing to use for forums as a replacement for them. It's something we're here considering at MMOBuff, because we're like, we should have forums, and I'm like, we really don't need forums, but I'd love to have a place where we can have conversations with people beyond the shows, beyond our live streams.
You know what's even more devious to do? Let your community do the subreddit themselves. So then you don't have to spend time manage it.
Guess what? It's already done. Well, mostly done. I need to go back and completely resort.
Because one of the problems with forums is that you have hosts in your servers, but B, you have to manage them, and then even the moderators that you appoint, there's sort of like people view moderators on forums as your representatives. So if you're gonna pick the wrong moderators, you're fucked. But on community route, like, you can just say, hey, it's not my fault that they deleted your topic. Like, I emphasize with you, go to hell. It's those mods on Saturday. I'm so sorry. Please die. So that's one of the, you can shift the responsibility very easily.
Okay.
Which I think is great.
Yes, let's just blame our fans for everything
I was
that could
just going to
possibly
say
go
that's
wrong.
that's
That's not
not a good.
exactly
I'm
the way you
not,
want to
I'm
do
not
it.
blaming. I'm just saying that if you're a game dev, you have like already a lot of time. Like you have spending a lot of time, and managing a community is another time-consuming thing. If you have
Right.
some people that want to do that for the good of the community, my God, I will love that. And
How
it's
do
so awesome.
how do we keep talking about community, but how do I switch my community, the few people that talk to me, daily, watch my streams, come along and help. And I don't have many, even though I've got over 1,100 followers on Twitter, it doesn't make any difference because those 1,100 followers just want followers back. Most of them, that's how Twitter works generally. They're not that interested in your product. So the community that I have got, I'm really again appreciative of the few people that follow me around and seem to be fans, but how do I those people, I don't expect them to do anything for me.
We
I put out
will.
tweets
I
to
think
them.
We'll get
that's one
into
of the
that.
most humbling.
Zeep. We're starting to move into another topic, which we will save for another show.
I'm not going to be here though.
As much as I would love to make the Datamine a 4-hour episode, I think my head would implode. Because, in all honesty, we could very easily get into topics and do that. But some thoughts and some things to go out there. Melathas, your name, it's great. I can't pronounce it. We'll get to your question in just a second. Because what I want to make certain to do is get out some information that is incredibly important if you are interested in game dev before we close the show. So, Chris, when is our game jam?
Our game jam is on the weekend of the 12th of December. Is that correct? That's a Friday?
Correct.
Oh, that's good.
I am so proud of you. Yes, here's the deal. If you're interested in getting into game jamming, if you're interested in getting into independent development, actually game jams are one of the best ways to do it. And what we're going to be doing is we have we have Roberta and Danny from Just a Pixel who are very interested in running a team. We have Chris who is going to be running a team. We have Adam from Fortress Craft who's going to be running a team, Fortress Craft Evolved. Unfortunately, Patrick can't do it. But we also have our charity organizers, Healing Over Time, bringing their own team with them. Remember, start practicing what you want to get involved in. We're looking for artists. We are looking for people who are involved in music. We are also looking for developers, people who have engine experience. Pick one and play. It doesn't matter what. Pick one and play.
Right. So are the team leaders picking the engine then? Because you can't mix engines, right? We could if you really want to.
This is why we're setting this up the way we're doing it. In October, we're going to open up and say, come and get in touch with us and tell us what it is that you want to do on a team. Perhaps even which team you want to be on. Maybe. Then in October, when we send you guys all out, you guys get to all decide in the team what you're going to use. Are you going to use CryEngine? Are you going to use Unity? Are you going to use Unreal? What are you using? Heck, are you going to use ActionScript from Flash? Some people...
Getting very advanced. What about GameMaker?
Some people might want to use GameMaker. In fact, if people use GameMaker for our game jam, I may cry. I may just cry. What? Unless they can pull something like really crazy out, because unfortunately,
that Blast Force was done in GameMaker. That
GameMaker's perfectly fine as an engine. It's nothing wrong with it.
The game over $300,000, and it's pretty good game for it's pretty good Twitch platform.
Oh yeah. Now see, I'd get behind that. It's more a matter of my personal experiences with it make me cry. Sort of like Mythalore says CryEngine makes them cry. I know some people who say Unity makes them cry. So it's more one of those things, just be like, oh no. But anyway, you guys will be able to decide through November, when you guys get to meet your teams, what platforms you're going to be working in. And these are things that I will be throwing up for questions to fill out for their application to join. Now, there will be prizes given away to the team that wins. There will be prizes given away throughout the entire weekend. And I have so many prizes that have been showing up on my doorstep, from game codes to t-shirts to, hardware. We've got Mices, I believe, to give away. I think we might even have a toaster. Don't ask. I can't explain it. It's just sort of the way it works. But we have a lot of different companies that want to kind of give things out. What I will need to do is get in touch with these guys and see if they might want to throw in some stuff as well. Gunner glasses. I need to send these out. Oops. To our guest who won them, actually. But yes, so if you're interested in game design, pay attention. It's coming up. And also, some other very last minute things here. Tonight, we have Raikachi streaming, and it seems to me that he lost his bet and he might have to stream Hello Kitty online tonight.
Oh.
Now, here's the thing. Raikachi is a muscular, tattooed, bald man, and he may be playing Hello Kitty online tonight here on MMOBuff.TV. I feel good for making him do it. Go ahead.
Can you make him wear a Hello Kitty sticker on a cheek?
If he has one. I don't believe he has one, but I could specifically ask him to do sparkles, but we'll see what ends up happening. Hate Breeder, you know what you're going to want to do? If you are really interested in getting involved in this, including music and other things that go with it, because we're looking for people who have experience and we're looking for people who have the desire, we're going to help you get experience, but we're also going to help you get the game published because it will be sold in a bundle. So, you know, the only way you can really get into game design is if you do something. Game jams are amazing for it. I recommend any you can get your hands on. But anyway, you're going to want to get in touch with us at voice@MMOBuff.TV. That's where you're going to start. I will tell you, I can work with you, talk with you, but the gates will open October 1st. October 1st, there will be a very specific way to get involved and registered. So there's that. But yes, Hello Kitty online tonight, I think is what the end result was. People didn't want to see him playing Diablo in Nightmare mode. People want to see him playing Hello Kitty. And I feel no repentance at all for this, other than the fact that it's going to be great watching him try and stream it and have fun with it. So, yes.
Obviously, Hello Kitty Online is a superior game.
Oh, it's an exception.
But being a musician in a game, quite quickly, there's quite a difference between making a music for the game while being part of the game and being in the game development. And there's a difference between just having your game licensed to the game. It's quite a different experience, and you can learn quite a lot by just being a part. And then one of the greatest things ever is if you would get actually into making the sound assets, because there is not a lot of audio engineers and not a lot of people who are doing sound assets for the game. There's some money in that as well. Oh,
there is, and I will tell you, if you are looking for a little bit of advice and support on that, 2 episodes ago, which you can find on YouTube, youtube.com/MMOBuff, we had a sound technician and musician join us who did the sound for Cubase -1, which is available on Steam. And we talked a lot about sound and stuff like that. It's a great place for you to tap into it from people who do it, literally. So it's something to consider. I appreciate your shameless plug bid. In fact, I'm going to make you do that full plug in just a second because I believe it should be there. Another thing, we are going to be changing our website up, folks, so we'd like to have your feedback. And we will be randomly giving away prizes to people who give us feedback. If you go to MMOBuff.TV right now, on the very top, it says, looking for your feedback. Click it. Help us out. We want to turn our site into a much richer experience, and we can only do that with feedback from you. Now, the only other thing that is super duper duper crazy important, do you guys play Guild Wars 2 or WildStar?
I used to play Guild Wars 1 years ago, but no, not now.
I played Guild Wars 2 and unfortunately the game sort of driven me away after around 1.5 years. Up until Living Story, the big update that they did recently when they sort of overhauled and they added in the UI the Living Story. Up until this point, I was playing it, but I still follow the game. I have a soft spot for it.
I completely agree. If you would like us to ask some very specific questions During EGX, our Friday night show called The Convergence, which normally goes out at 8 p.m., will actually be going out at 6 p.m. live from the Twitch stand at Eurogamer Expo. And that is in roughly about 2 weeks now. And we will have some ArenaNet devs with us to answer your questions. We'll also be giving away swag as well, because, you can't have a show like that without swag. It's unthinkable. So if you want to get your questions into us, you can do it through all of our social media sites, along with voice at MMOBuff.TV. Very important. So if you have any questions about them, get them in so that we can find the right developer to talk for you, to you, with you, about you, and things like that. So with that, shameless promotions from both of you. Patrick first. Shameless promotion.
So, yay! You can just find Elysian Shadows anywhere if you're gonna just look for Elysian Shadows, because unified branding for the win. Totally check us out. New game, really cool game for PC, Dreamcast, Linux, Mac, basically anything that we can get off, because Falco has engineer fetish when he tries to put the game on literally everything. I think he make it run on Google Glass for a second, and then the Google Glass overheated and freeze, but still, the game was actually running in there. And if you want to find more about me, myself personally, Imooriel everywhere, as I was typing in the chat, it's EMRWO. And I'm really bad at
I am.
English language is such a horrible spelling.
Yes, I've added the link there for you. Now,
Imooriel here, Elysian Shadows, anything else. That's me.
And Patrick, when he's here. Very serious, Patrick. Go ahead, Chris. Plug away.
Okay, so this is my final MMOBuff show MMOBuff Datamine show for a good while, at least 3 months, if not longer. I hope I am invited back at some point, and I can do it. Also, I'd like to challenge Josie to possibly not moving the show, but maybe getting me on some of the later shows at some point, or maybe doing a second Datamine just for me.
Late night broadcast.
But I'm joking. Obviously, what I do, I'm humbled again to be invited to MMOBuff. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time here. I know it's not been that long, but I again, real life has got in the way, and in order for me to fund my indie development habits, I have had to take a contract, much like Danny did actually. Very similar situation. So yes, I'm not going to be here from next week onwards. If you were interested in my game, which is Subnet, you can follow my studio, which is 19 Stone Ninjas, on Twitter, and that's 19 Ninjas on Twitter. Our website is 19stoneninjas.com. Loads of project information about the game on there. The game is a first-person shooter. No, it's not. It's not a shooter at all. It's a first-person parkour, stealth, and hacking game. Mainly puzzles and stealth. So far, there's not going to be any projectile weapons in it at the moment, or at least not prominently featured. Other than that, I do another show on 6:30 on Wednesdays, Mondays, and Fridays. Wednesday we do a talk show about games, show some YouTube footage, talk about different subjects. This week we were talking about, forgotten the subject, gaming moments. So there's a lot of spoilers, unfortunately, yesterday when we were showing. On Fridays we do a co-op multiplayer, and on Mondays we do a single-player playthrough. We're currently playing through Metal Gear Solid 1, and we're going to play through Metal Gear Solid 2, 3, 4, and then the other ones, all of the others, until we get to Phantom Pain, because two of us on the show are particular Metal Gear Solid fanboys, so we're playing through it. And, yeah.
Holy cow.
So we're going to play through all of those, and hopefully by the time we've finished, that's when Phantom Pain will be released. Yeah, so that's another show, but I'll be continuing to do that because it's after work, obviously. But as I said, hopefully Josie will invite me on to some of the other shows, and I'll be around to show my lovely bearded face to everybody.
Absolutely. Right. So before we go, believe me, I have not forgotten your question, Melias. There, Mel. I haven't forgotten your question.
Meletheus.
It's like
Mal,
male
you
Maleficent.
killed me with a sword, Mal.
Yes.
How strange is
Maleficent.
that? Sorry, Firefly flashback. Actually, it was a Serenity flashback. But anyway, so the question that we have, and this is what we'll be ending our show on. Do you think Twitch can be used for advertising your on-dev game? After a few streams and followers, you can go to Kickstarter maybe? Just for more fans?
Yeah.
Not after few.
I have had via streaming game development on Twitch. I found a modeler that is now on my team and helping me. I have found a number of fans that again, follow me around and watch my streams and follow my blogs, etc. And it's all exposure. Do your own website, get your Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, everything that the internet offers you for free. Take advantage of. Unfortunately, you do need to learn a little bit about each website and how they work. But yeah,
well, it
100%
depends on which
think Twitch is a
CMS you're
brilliant way of doing it.
using. If you're using a CMS, I mean,
I'm not. I wrote my own.
You could go with yeah, exactly. You could create your own. You could use WordPress. You could use Drupal. You could use Joomla. You could use Concrete 5. You could just use a bulletin board system if you wanted to. There are so many different things, and that's something we're going to have to get into at some point in time.
I mean, I would argue that Twitch can be a good part, but it shouldn't be the only thing that you do for exposure. It can be a part. You have your Twitter, you have your webpage, you have YouTube, Facebook, whatever. But it shouldn't be just, only Twitch and only Twitch.
See, I completely agree with that. And that's something that I think, in the end, you should never have one-point strategy for marketing or community contact. You should have multiple ways of being in touch with your community. You should actually care. Unless you're just specifically creating a game that you are only making for yourself and you don't ever want to share with anybody, you should be in touch with your fans or just in touch with people who want to ask you questions. I mean, hey, that's how it happens. For example, here at the Datamine, we've had people join channels during our shows and go, what the blup is this? And then 5 minutes later, they're like, wow, this is actually an okay show. We've also had people show up and go, what the puffy is this? And then never come back after spamming us. You run the gamut. But this is not the only place where we have interactions with people. So
thick skin. That's what you need.
Well, it's not just a matter of thick skin, but it's also a matter of the fact that I recognize just how twisted the internet is, especially when I start to get into discussions about security. Oh.
How was that rant about Apple's cloud?
Let's just say that Pseudo has opinions, and she is purposely saying nothing at the moment, because honestly, learn to encrypt, learn to better protect passwords, learn to not store anything on the cloud you don't want seen by the rest of the world. Okay, go.
I mean, it's hard to not get into victim blaming, because if someone picks your locks and gets into your house, then, it's not your fault, but then again... There was so imperfect that can be obviously. It's a very tricky conversation.
There are different people at fault. There is never one particular person at fault, but there are always a lot of victims. In the end, I hate to say it, but if you use the internet, you are personally responsible for your actions. You have to be. It's kind of like driving a car, which is why I also believe that there should be licenses and tests to use the internet. But I'm
the European computer
way.
Driving license.
It exists, and it's so not good enough.
No, it's terrible. Have you ever been to one of those? I went to one that was free some point just to see how patronizing it was. I saw people doing that with a mouse on the screen, to try and move the cursor around. Oh God.
Yeah,
it was horrific.
There's crazy stuff, and we will be doing shows about security and things like that as well. But yes, on that note, guys, it has been an absolute pleasure. Chris, you are an absolute star, and honey, you will always be welcome back. I will be fitting you into another store. I'll put you on a shop. I'll sell you. I'll make some money off of you. Then I'll buy
Everyone
you
loves
back.
The beard.
It's the beard.
Pay a lot of money for it.
It's the beard. And the thing is, even with Chris, you going and Patrick saying, oh, I will happily come back for more.
Yeah.
I'm still surrounded by people with beards. I need to just grow a beard. I
mean, come on, that doesn't count. It's a stub. It's an accidental
stub.
hair that emigrated.
You have hair on your chin. I do not have hair on my chin.
Buy a Santa Claus thingy, and you can like wear the braid.
Yes, we're working on this, especially for November, because I am a massive supporter of Movember, and I will be looking to wear a different set of facial hair every show. And considering the fact that I do 5 shows a week, that's going to be a lot of facial hair. I'm looking at rainbows. I'm looking at really bushy things. I'm looking at tiny, thin villain type things. I'm looking at like sparkly things. I don't know. We'll come up with something. Who knows? Maybe for an entire episode, I'll wear that.
Oh, that's lazy.
I know it's lazy. Oh,
plus it's gonna make your audio sound horrible.
You know what it's gonna be? I'm gonna be like, Patrick, I need you to develop for me 25 varying styles of mustache that can be printed out, cut, and then worn throughout all of November. But they all have to be different. They cannot match.
Like work.
I know. That's what's like, no, it ain't gonna happen. But yes, anyway. So for all of you guys, Darth Laser, hearts to you, my dear. Name my child Abigail. Apparently, I think Darth Laser has made me in Sims 4. And I now have a child. I wonder who got me pregnant. That's just weird. Let's see. Mythalore has made some comments. Awesomeness. To all of you guys who are new, thank you so much for coming. If you'd like to learn more about what we do at MMOBuff.TV, look directly below the channel itself. We have quite a few shows, quite a few people doing quite a few things. But tonight, you will want to be here as we put our first proper streamer who is not a host on shows, but who does nothing but stream games with us through the ringer and force him to play Hello Kitty online. Cause
who a bastard. Sorry for the language, but
no, dear. That's fine. We've already had Patrick Fucker out. It's like, screw it, it's over. I need a proper Grand Vizier look. Great. We'll come up with crazy stuff. But on that note, it leaves me to say, Chris, again, an absolute pleasure. I will have you on other shows. I actually have plans for you for that. Patrick, you may just be back next week, sir.
I will be.
And on that note, it leaves me to say thank you so much, guys. It is Pseudo. An honest to God pleasure being with you. And if you have topics you want us to cover, get in touch. And get excited about the Game Jam. Because you may just be able to be on a team to put Twitch in its place. If we can get them to set a team up. I'm challenging you. I'm seeing you there. But on that note, good night, everyone. Good day. And good afternoon.
Bye.
All depending on where you live.
Signing off.
Bye-bye.
Bye.